I wish everyone the good of moment of the day, the good day to everyone. Today, as we have planned and published a live class on the unit. So, braving the hazards is the unit where we were advised to equip ourselves to face the challenges, how to brave or face courageously the adversities or the calamities or the problems. In the unit titled Braving the Hazards, we have come across disasters and disaster management in India. And another is the Serang of Rana Ganchi. Then there is an excerpt, a portion of an essay written by A.J. Gardner on courage. That is in your textbook while I will be preparing the notes. I will give you the better notes and activities based on and the except on courage. That is in your textbook. And the last segment of the unit, Braving the Hazards, is the wreck of the Titanic. The wreck means completely damage and destruction. Shipwreck, the breaking down of the ship. So years back, you might have heard about the Oscar-winning movie, The Titanic. So before starting this poem by Benjamin Peck, is an American poet who will go for analyzing about the poet. So try to understand that it was one of the historical tragedies happened in waters, ocean. So based on that incident, James Cameron, the famous Hollywood director, filmed this tragedy titled The Titanic. And the movie has bagged several Oscar awards. And the hero and heroine, the hero and heroine, the male and female characters, was done by Leonardo DiCaprio as Jack and Kate Winslet as Rose. They are Jack and Rose. So if you haven't watched this movie, Oscar award-winning movie, please, after the class, go and search in Google the movie Titanic. At least to watch that shipwreck scene of the movie. And the two important characters, that is Jack and Rose, done by Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet respectively. So which is a very wonderful and awesome movie based on this maritime or water tragedy. Okay. So that is what the wreck of the Titanic, then an American poet. So James Cameron has filmed this tragedy on the waters. And another American poet, Benjamin Peck, wrote a poem on this tragedy on waters. That is a very important thing. So which is one of the naval tragedies, historical naval tragedies happened. That is what here we are coming to know about this. So now we will go for the poet Benjamin Peck. Benjamin Peck is the writer of the poem The Wreck of the Titanic. Actually, he was born in 1856 and died in 1927. So I ask my listeners or the spectators of this class, live class, please try to watch and attend the class with your textbook, which will be 100% successful in this activity. So Benjamin Peck, born in 1856 and died in 1927, was an American poet. And his famous collection of poems include Spoons of Silver Spoons in Tin, Spoons of Silver Spoons in Tin, and other poems published in 1921. He has written a lot of short poems, a large number of short poems. The Wreck of the Titanic is one of his famous poems. The Wreck of Titanic is one of his famous poems. So he has written several famous poems. And The Wreck of the Titanic is one of his famous poems. So you see, before entering the poem by Benjamin Peck, there are some special notes given at the end of the poem. So actually these special notes on different wars and battles, which is also nobilizing or giving nobility to the great warriors and their attitudes and their behavior towards the battle. So almost there are 5 battles. Almost there are 5 battles given there. And about these 5 battles, the nobility, the courage and the attitude of the fighters or the soldiers or the warriors are mainly mentioned. And also these courage, attitude, bravery and the good spirit was also compared to the crew of the ship of Titanic and also the captain of the Titanic. So first I will talk about the first battle, that is Trafalgar. Trafalgar battle. When you look at the note section, you will really understand. Trafalgar battle, the Battle of Trafalgar, which happened in 21st October 1805. Really, Trafalgar battle was a naval engagement, water engagement, fought by the Royal Navy, United Kingdom's Navy, against the combined fleet's army of the French and the Spanish navies. The Battle of Trafalgar. Try to keep this battle, Sometimes with reference there may be. And also this kind of notes will give you better understanding of the poem. The Battle of Trafalgar fought in 21st October 1805. It was a naval engagement, naval ship engagement, fight fought by the Royal Navy of United Kingdom against the combined joint forces of the French and the Spanish navies. That is all. The second battle, it was the Battle of Alamo. Battle of Alamo. Battle of Alamo. Very important. The Battle of Alamo, February 23rd, March 6, 1836, was a pivotal means very important event. Was a pivotal means very important event in the Texas American Revolution. And the Texians, the people who live in Texas are called Texians, defeated the Mexican army. Okay, the Texians defeated the Mexican army at the Battle of San Jacinto on April 21, 1836, ending the revolution. So Mexican army. That is Alamo, the Battle of Alamo. So think about how bravely those soldiers or warriors fought. And they fought bravely for a cause for ending the revolution. Another third battle is Waterloo. Waterloo battle. It is very famous in the world history. The Battle of Waterloo was fought on 18th June 1815 near a place called Waterloo in present-day Belgium, the country Belgium. And the Emperor Napoleon, the old universal, who was supposed to be the universal emperor. So the Emperor Napoleon was defeated by the armies of the 7th Coalition cooperation against Napoleon. So the Battle of Waterloo was really a great battles in the history, world history, which was fought in Waterloo in present-day Belgium. And the Emperor Napoleon was defeated in the Battle of Waterloo by the armies of the 7th Coalition. So in this battle also the soldiers and the warriors showed their mettle. Mettle means spirit and courage, and fought for the betterment of the society. The another battle is, or the charge, the Light Brigade. The Light Brigade is another battle or charge. The Light Brigade. The charge of the Light Brigade was a charge of British light cavalry against Russian force. Cavalry is another section of the army. So the charge of the Light Brigade, the charging of the Light Brigade, or the forcing and attack of the Light Brigade, was a charge of British light cavalry against Britain, against Russian forces during the Battle of Balaclava. During the Battle of Balaclava on 25th October 1854. So actually these battles were meant for a good cause, maybe for to some extent a bad cause when the result comes. And also the spirit and courage and the approach and attitude of the warriors in such battles and charges. That is the Light Brigade. The charge of the Light Brigade was a charge of British light cavalry against Russian forces during the Battle of Balaclava on 25th October 1854. The last one, Jim Bludsoe. Jim Bludsoe. Jim Bludsoe. That was the last referential battle given in your textbook. Actually, Jim Bludsoe was an engineer who died, actually met with death while saving the lives of the passengers of a boat. So he was traveling in a boat. He was traveling in a boat, and by profession he was an engineer. So when he traveled at the boat, the name of the boat is Priory. The name of the boat is Priory. Remember, by profession Jim Bludsoe was an engineer or is an engineer. So he was traveling in a boat called Priory Bell. Priory Bell. That is the full name. Priory Bell is the name of the boat. He was traveling with other passengers where on the Mississippi River. This boat was traveling on the waters of the Mississippi River, and he was an engineer. While traveling with the other passengers in the boat called Priory Bell on the Mississippi rivers, and the boat met with some accident, and he became instantly means very immediately popular, became very famous. And John Hay is a very famous poet. John Hay wrote a poem about him, about this Jim Bludsoe. So John Hay, one of the important or a popular poet, who wrote a poem about this Jim Bludsoe, titled Jim Bludsoe. So Jim Bludsoe of the Priory Bell. That was the title of the poem. Actually, Jim Bludsoe did not think about his own life when the boat he was traveling with other passengers titled Priory Bell. He really thought about escaping or saving the other passengers without thinking about his own life. Without thinking about his own life, he thought of saving other passengers. So that was the courage. That was the bravery. That was the nobility of this engineer. Because how can an engineer who travels in a boat called a Priory Bell and which met with an accident in the waters of the Mississippi River, and in order to, rather than saving Jim Bludsoe's life, he tried to save other passengers in the boat. So that was sacrifice, that was dedication, and that was the very important nobility of a person doing wonderful social service. And John Hay, by thinking about this nobility of the person, wrote a very good poem titled Jim Blotso of the Prairie Bell in 1871. So like that, we have come across the 5 battles and braving the situation by Jim Blotso is also talking about the real, actually, the sacrifice and dedication to social service of the great warriors in these things. That is what here we are just coming to know about. Now, we will pass on to the poem. So when you look at the page, you can see 2 pictures. First one is a picture of the Titanic. First one is the picture of a Titanic sailing. And the second picture is the wreck of the Titanic sinking under the waters. Sinking under the waters. These are the 2 pictures. So there are some questions for the learners given over there to realize about these things. Can you recognize the ship and the incident? So from this we can understand that the ship is the Titanic and the second picture is the wreck of completely the collapse of the ship Titanic. That is so. Then the second question given is there. Do you know how the passengers, you see there were numerous passengers. Do you know how the passengers and the crew, workers of the ship respond to this situation? How did they react? How did they show their attitude? The attitude of the passengers in the ship or the vessel called the Titanic, and the attitude and the behavior of the crew of the ship, and how did they respond to this situation? So that is a very important. So we have examined the pictures carefully before the poem. Now read and enjoy. So you see here, my students, I have given 2 references before learning. So one is watching the award-winning movie directed by James Cameron, The Titanic. Another one is John Hayes' poem, the famous poem, Jim Blotso's of Prairie Bell, which will also show the attitude of the man. So now we will go for a starter of the poem. Here is a poem about one of the greatest tragedies at sea. You see, centuries have witnessed, centuries past have witnessed many great tragedies, not on land, not in air, but at sea. This poem, The Wreck of the Titanic, is one of the greatest tragedies at sea. There are several greatest tragedies at sea, but the wreck of the Titanic is exposing one of the greatest tragedies at sea. You see, one of the pencils, one of the pens, one of the instrument boxes, one of the greatest tragedies. After one of the noun will be ending in plurals. One of the baskets, one of the beautiful flowers, one of the greatest tragedies at sea. This is a linguistic element. Learners, please try to understand. Sometimes in your grammar section of your question paper, there may be questions. One of the, then the last noun will be in a plural. So on 14th April 14th April. So we have completed April last month. Now we are undergoing May last. On 14th April in the year 1912, that is a very important one, 1912. Try to keep this date and year in your memory, because this is also very important for your, what do we call it, as a GK improvement. GK improvement. Okay. So GK improvement, try to know one of the greatest tragedies at sea that happened. Actually, the wreck of the Titanic happened on 14th April 1912. 14th April 1912. 14th April 1912. The Titanic, which carried 2,100 passengers. I told you there were numerous number of passengers. 2,100 passengers. That means 2,100 passengers and crew. The workmen of the ship. The Sarang of Ranagaji also, we came to understand about the crew of the ship Ranagaji. So you see, there were 2,100, means 2,100 passengers and crew collided with an iceberg. How the tragedy happened? Actually, Titanic, the ship, in the darkness hit with a huge iceberg, an iceberg, snow block, and broke and sank into the depth of the Atlantic Ocean. Atlantic Ocean. Atlantic Ocean. You see, that is a very important one. So this is giving a gist of the point. On 14th April 1912, the Titanic, the name of the ship, the vessel, which carried 2,100 passengers and crew, collided with the crash and struck with the huge iceberg, snow block, and the ship was broken and sank into the depth of the Atlantic Ocean. However, this tragedy also exposed some of the greatest acts of courage. You see, this tragedy has highlighted, exposed means highlighted, underlined some of the greatest acts of the people, and heroism is shown there. Now read the poem. You see, actually this tragedy has underlined the acts of heroism. Now, we will go for analyzing the poem, line by line, written by, composed by Benjamin Peck. Out of Southampton, from the place where it started its journey, Southampton, she swung, tossing or going up and down very gently, calmly, with the stream of waters. She swung with the stream of Atlantic Ocean. So out of Southampton she swung, tossed up and down with the stream. And Benjamin Keith is telling that it is a poem of iron and steel. Poem of iron and steel. Poem of iron and steel. So think about iron and steel are two metals. And the poem is about these two metals, iron and steel. That means about the Titanic. The ship was made up of these two metals, iron and steel. That means the poem is of the Titanic. The poem is of iron and steel, and also the bravery and courage shown by the crew in the ship at the time of a crisis, or the tragedy of the waters, which is also the indication of the courage and the spirit of the crew in the ship titled Titanic. So iron and steel is having two implications. One is the metal used for making the ship or the vessel. And another iron and steel is the indirect mean the bravery and courage and the good spirit of the crew exposed and shown by at the time of crisis, which is also meaning iron and steel. So it is the poem of the ship Titanic. It is also the poem of the courage and the spirit of the crew of the Titanic, bravery of the Titanic. Then he is telling a sea dream. So it is a dream of the sea. Titanic is the dream, a sea dream, the journey, a sea dream from Southampton, a sea dream, and thousands on shore. You see, when the ship starts its maiden journey, first journey, maiden, and thousands on shore. You see, there were thousands of people on the shore. Watched her. Her means the ship Titanic. Watched her. Thousands of people on the shore watched her. Watched the ship. Her means your ship. Try to register this word. So who watched her? Who watched the ship? Thousands of people standing on the shore of Southampton watched her, the Titanic, steaming away with the power, moving forward to the waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Watched the Titanic steaming away, moving or traveling very fast with the engine power. Then Benjamin Keith is talking about the size of the ship Titanic. The largest, the grandest of all ships that today. You see, superlative degree. Large, larger, largest. Grant, grantor, grantest. Superlative degree. Now think about the large, positive degree. Larger plus ER, larger. Comparative degree. Large plus EST, largest. Superlative degree. Like that, the degrees of comparison you will try to understand in the area of your, what do we call it as a grammar section. Like that, grant plus ER. Grant is a positive degree. Grant plus ER, grantor. Comparative degree. Grant plus EST, grantest. Superlative degree. So the maximum. Before that, there is no description. That is why the Titanic, the largest ship and the grandest, superb, grandest of all ships that day. That means at the year 1912. So, the largest and grandest of all ships that day. No other ship was comparable to that one. The Titanic was the largest at that time. And the Titanic was the grandest of all the ships that day. So now we have got some idea about the ship. And the 1,000 on board, 1,000 passengers on board the ship. Inside the ship, did security feel? Very wonderful expression by Benjamin Peck. And the 1,000 on board, 1,000 passengers on board the ship did feel security, felt security. Did plus feel, felt. So all the passengers, especially the 1,000 on board, the passengers felt that they were very secured in the ship, very safe. Security means safe position in the ship. They felt all comfortable. They felt security inside the ship. For no eye saw death. Nobody thought about this danger. For no eye saw death means nobody thought of any danger. For no eye saw death, nobody thought about the death. As he stood at the wheel, you see here the captain. The captain at the wheel steering the ship. He stood at the wheel. The captain stood at the wheel of the ship, directing her course. Whose course? Journey. Course means travel or journey. Course. Course here means travel or journey. Travel or journey. So he at the wheel, directing, controlling her course, Titanic, the ship's journey, the ship's way to the echoeless shore, the invisible shore, to the indefinite waters, the echoeless shore, directing her course. The captain is introduced, and the captain is at the wheel steering the ship and directing, controlling the ships. Her means the Titan. Ship is here considered as a maiden or a woman or a lady, and she is given feminine gender. Her, she, her. She, her means the ship, the vessel. The Titanic is considered as a lady or a woman, and the captain at the wheel controlling her journey or travel to the echoeless, without echo, without the sound shores, means far away, invisible shores. Her first and last haven of nevermore. Actually, her, I told you her, the Titanic's first, it is her first abode and the last resting place, haven of nevermore. Never here onwards Titanic will be existing on the universe. Her first and last haven aboard, the dwelling place of nevermore, not to be present in the universe. So actually Benjamin Keith really understanding the spirit of the wreck of the Titanic, showing that the Titanic, her first and last haven, or the abode or the shelter of not being evermore in this universe. After this, this was her first and last. After this, she won't be existing in this universe. Then we will go for the third stanza. She was the last best work of man. Very important word. So, man is the creation of the crown of creation. That is all. So it is told that man is the crown of creation. The best of creation is man. But she was the last. Who was the last? The Titanic. The Titanic, the Titanic was the last and best work of man. So since man is the crown of creation, Titanic was the last work of man and the best work of man. And after that, nobody has created such a ship like that. And on her first voyage, last time I also told that voyage is actually in the ship of Serang, the Serang of Ranagachi. Okay, I explained voyage is a travel only on waters. And on her first voyage, actually Titanic's journey or travel on waters was the first voyage, maiden voyage. Maiden or first? First voyage. Maiden or first voyage. You see, the language here, Benjamin Peck used here is very simple language where you cannot come across any difficult word. That is why there is no glossary or meaning of the difficult word in this poem. Actually, the poem is written in a very simple language which could be easily understood by the readers. So we will listen to the third stanza. She was the last best work of man. The Titanic was the last and best work of man. And on her maiden voyage, first journey, maiden voyage means first sea journey, was speeding, very speedily the ship travels and sails. Then comes the turning point when out of the darkness, it's a night time, no moonlight, complete out of a thick darkness, out of the night, from the night, suddenly appeared, very unexpectedly appeared, and ominous form of ghostly white. You see, ghostly white. Ghostly white. Very important one. Please try to understand the meaning. Loomed, very immediately appeared, suddenly appeared, could be seen, suddenly could be watched. And omen was very bad. Ominous means very bad. Omen means very bad form. A structure, shape of a ghostly white. Ghostly white. White shows the color of the snow, ice. And it was ghostly. Ghost which is going to attack its prey or enemy and going to kill it. That is why ghostly white. Ghostly white here means iceberg. Iceberg. Ghostly white. So loomed and ominous, fearful, something indicating bad structure of an iceberg. Ghostly white. That is an iceberg merely. So now Benjamin Keith is giving the description of that ghostly white, the ominous form of ghostly white. Ominous means indicating something very bad. That is so. So loomed an ominous form of a ghostly white. Then the next stanza is telling, it was a towering mountain of ice. The ice was just growing like a tower. So, which we cannot imagine. So the size and the shape of the ghostly white iceberg is describing in the following stanza. It was to us. That is a short form of it was to us. To us. So try to understand. This is a poetic technique. Is to us. To us. TWAS. To us. To us means it was. That is the freedom of the poets can converse lines or compose lines. It was a towering, going very big and high mountain of ice. Gigantic, just like a giant, gigantic. Giant, actually the adjective form of gigantic. As ever was seen on the North Atlantic, such a huge and high iceberg was never seen in the North Atlantic, in the Atlantic Ocean. Never was seen such a gigantic and towering mountain of ice in the ocean, Atlantic Ocean. She struck. So when it suddenly appeared, she struck. The ship struck on this huge, gigantic, tall tower of iceberg. She struck with it. With the shiver from stern to stern. Last time, while I was a Sarang of Ranaganji, the same expression. Stern to stern. Stern to stern. The whole of the ship. From one part of the ship to the next end of the ship. The whole part of the ship. So a shiver from stern to stern. When the ship struck with the iceberg, there was a shiver from all over the ship, from one first end of the ship to the last end of the ship. That is stern to stern. From the first end of the ship to the last end of the ship. There was a shiver when the ship Titanic struck to this iceberg. And was rapidly sinking. And the ship was rapidly means very fastly. Rapidly means speedily. Rapidly means speedily. Sinking means going under waters. Sinking means going under the waters of the Atlantic Ocean. All soon did learn. All the passengers, including the crew, really understood now. So all the passengers in the 2,100 passengers and the crew really understood the reason or the tragedy which is covering the ship Titanic. Now, the next stanza we are going to analyze. Then, Captain Smith, I told you, he at his wheels. The captain. So the captain, what is the name of the captain? Captain Smith. Captain Smith. The captain. Then Captain Smith, her commander brave. The captain is the commander of the ship. Her means the Titanic's. The ship Titanic's commander. He was a brave, courageous commander. Commander brave means courageous captain, commander of the ship. Thought not one moment. Did not think for a moment. Did not waste his time by thinking. Thought not one moment. He did not think for a single minute, single second. His own life to save. Very important one. He did not think of saving his own life, That is why that Captain Smith or the commander of the Titanic is a brave commander or the brave Captain Smith. Why? Because when he understood the tragedy which has covered the ship of the Titanic, he did not even thought for a single second about saving his own life. He did not think of escaping from the situation. So he decided to sacrifice his life. He did not think of saving his own life, but stood on the bridge of the ship, calling out to the crew, telling, "Hello, the workmen of the ship, remember your country. Please think about your country, Britain." And telling all the crew members, be British. British people should try to save others' life rather than saving their own life. Be British. Be true. Be true British people. Calling out to the crew, remember your country, be British, be true. This was really the command or the order given by Captain Smith or the commander of the ship to his crew members. Now let us see what are the next stanza. And England, and Ireland, and Scotland, and Wales. You see, different countries are mentioned. So different countries are mentioned here. And England, and Ireland, and Scotland, and Wales. Actually, these countries proved there to the world. They have proved to the world that their valor, their courage, valor here means courage. Their valor, VALOR. So that is a British, American English. So the correct British spelling is VALOUR. Their valor, their courage never fails. So actually, the women and children first was their cry. So when the ship met with one of the greatest naval tragedies, so the people of England and Ireland and Scotland and Wales proved to the world that their courage will never go down. And they have proved that the women and the children first. Please save the women and children first from the ship. Was their shouting, was their cry, was their order or command. And every one of the crew just assisted, stood by means they stood for, started for their rescue works. First, women and children. So that is what here the great attitude of the people, especially people from England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. Let us go for the next one. And the boats. You see, the ship will be having so many boats there, life-saving boats. Life-saving boats were there. And the boats were lowered and sent away. So many rescue boats, saving boats were lowered from the ship and sent away with first with the women and children. Actually, these boats were attached to the ship with a rope, and that cut off all hope, save eternity. Except eternity, the cut off all hope. Actually, that was the last straw of the hoe. And the Titanic sank from sight. Now the complete ship has gone under the water. Neath the sea, that is a very important one, neath the sea. Neath the sea. So neath means under, beneath. Beneath. Neath means the short form of beneath. Neath, beneath, under the sea. While you think about it, that is another very fantastic description. Even if the tragedy had happened, even if most of the passengers were going under the waters with the ship, while her band, you see there is a music band, a group of choir playing musical instrument. The Titanic's band music instrument played a wonderful song, Near My God to Thee. Actually, even if they were going to meet the death in the waters of the Atlantic Ocean, the band did not stop playing the song or playing the music. So actually the ship was going under the waters of the Atlantic Ocean, beneath the sea. Even at that time also, the band, the music group of the ship was playing a song that was, Nearer my God to Thee, we are coming to our God. Very near to our God, to Thee, to you, we are coming to. Actually, it is suggesting life after death. You try to understand there are three lives. Three lives. Three lives are there. One life, first life is when we are in the womb of our mother before birth. That is a very important thing. So 9 or 10 or 9 or 8 or 9 or 10 months we are in the womb, stomach. That is what we call it as our mother. That is the first world. We are living 9 or 10 months or 8 or 9 months in the womb of our mothers before our birth. That is the first world. The second world after the birth live on the earth. And the third world after our death, our life, spirit, the soul will go to the third world. That was the belief. So that is why all the passengers, including the crew, when the ship was going beneath the sea, they were playing the band. The band of the ship was playing a very good song. Nearer my God, nearer to our Creator God, to Thee we are coming to. Let us go the next stanza. Was there ever a scene so awfully grand? You see, it was the fantastic scene. There was ever a scene, never before there was no such scene, so awfully grand, excellent scene was not there anything before that. And that sinking ship, underwater going ship, with her playing music band. Actually, even the ship was going under the waters, the music band was playing their song. And all glory to Smith. All are very thankful and what do we call it, as showing their respect to Smith. And the Titanic's men, the crew of the ship. Titanic's men means the crew of the ship. Then we are coming to know about, I have described the battles, the 5 battles. They bring Trafalgar's heroes. they bring. So when such an awful grand scene was described, there is a reference, there is an allusion, there is a reference and allusion. So by reference to, we come across or we remember the Trafalgar's heroes to memory again. So when we look at the glory of the Smith captain and the bravery and attitude and the work done by Titanic's crew, Titanic's men, they are similar to the heroes of the Trafalgar battle. I explained Trafalgar battle before starting the poem. To memory again. We are memorized of the heroes of the Trafalgar battle. And that heart-thrilling tale of Alamo, the Alamo's battle tale, which was heart-thrilling by the attitude and bravery and courage shown by the warriors of a thrilling tale, story of Alamo. Tale means a story of Alamo. And the last grand charge at Waterloo, you see, defeat of Napoleon, the world emperor, by the 7th coalition. That was their attitude. And the charge of the light brigadier as well. That means the charge, the fight, the battle of the light brigadier. And finally, Jim Bludso sacked the Priory Bell. The act of Jim Bludso's of Priory Bell. You see, he also did not think about Jim Bludso. Jim Bludso did not think about his own safety, but he thought of saving the lives of other passengers who are traveling with him in the boat. Like that, the Captain Smith and the Titanic's men did not even a single moment think about their own safety, but they thought about the safety of other passengers, especially the women and children. Especially the women and children. Then the last stanza, and with these kind of attitudes and brave deeds of the captain and the crew of the Titanic, down the corridors of all time, by the space of all the time, the Titanic story, tale, T-A-L-E, the Titanic story shall sound sublime. It will be very noble story. That means the courage and attitude and bravery and deeds of the Captain Smith and the crew of the Titanic. For never was courage more noble and true. Such courage was never shown in the world, which was more noble and true. The courage of the Captain Smith and the courage of the crew of the ship titled the Titanic was more noble and true than was shown on that night. A tragedy night was shown by the Titanic's crew, so which will be written in golden letters, which was written in golden letters in the history of the naval tragedies, especially in the Atlantic Ocean on 4th April of 1920. So which is marvelously great act done by. With these down the corridors of all time, the Titanic's story shall sound sublime, for never was courage more noble and true than was shown on that night by the Titanic's crew. Very important, especially the Captain Smith of the ship and the Titanic's crew, the workmen of the Titanics. Actually, they were showing their tremendous deed of valor, courage, and bravery. And my dear students, we came to the end of the poem, The Wreck of the Titanic, Benjamin Peck. So, We will be coming with the very important notes and activities of the poem, and living harmoniously is yet another second last unit of your plus one, that is a fifth unit. Okay, so we will be starting in the coming Thursday session by 11:15 till 12:30, and be always in touch. Read the poem or 5 times with this class demonstration watching, and which will give you more inspiration, and you will be imbibing the spirit incorporated in the poem. And we will start the next unit in the next class. Be in touch with, share to your friends, and watch almost all the classes and systematically write down all the notes. Wish you all the best. Thank you.